I wonder, what mysteries does this door hide? The question gnawed at my mind, curling in my thoughts like a festering parasite as I paced down the dim corridor of my old, decrepit house. It wasn't just idle curiosity anymore, it was obsession. The house was a relic of the past, standing solitary and worn on the outskirts of town. The price had been absurdly cheap, too good to refuse. The realtor mentioned something about the former owner's sudden passing, but I hadn't cared. He was a quiet man, she had said. Kept to himself. The kind of man who lived in the shadows, unnoticed, until the day he didn't return. It wasn't until I lived in this house for a while that I understood why. The halls groaned under the weight of unseen memories, the air thick with an unshakable chill that settled in my bones. But tonight was different. There, at the end of the corridor, a small door, one I had never seen before. It seemed impossible. I'd walked this path 1,000 times, and yet this door had never been there. A sense of unease crept over me, but curiosity drove me forward, overriding the warnings in the back of my mind. I approached the door, my heart thudding harder with each step. My hand hovered over the brass handle, tarnished and ancient. "What the hell?" I muttered under my breath, a nervous laugh escaping my lips, masking the rising tension in my chest. I turned the handle. The door groaned like a living thing, a sound so unnatural that it sent a shiver down my spine. As the door creaked open, a cold draft surged through, swirling around me like invisible hands, clawing at my skin. I hesitated, straining to hear something, a faint, distant noise. It was almost inaudible at first, but as I stood there, frozen in place, I realized what it was. Chains. Rattling. I swallowed hard, my breath shallow. My mind raced, searching for an explanation. Old plumbing, perhaps? Or maybe the wind catching something loose in the walls. But deep down, I knew it wasn't anything so simple. Steeling myself, I pushed the door further open. The dim light from the hallway spilled into the room beyond, casting long, flickering shadows across the floor. And that's when I saw him. A figure huddled in the corner, small and trembling, bathed in the gloom. His frail form was bound in chains, the iron shackles clinking softly as he moved. My heart lurched, a wave of nausea rolling through me. What the hell was going on? Instinctively, I took a step into the room, my body moving before my mind could catch up. "Hey, kid," I whispered, my voice shaking as I crouched down beside him. His small, gaunt body shuddered with soft, broken sobs, almost too faint to hear. I reached out, hesitant but unable to stop myself, and gently wrapped my arms around him. His skin was cold, too cold, and I could feel the sharp ridges of his bones through his threadbare clothes. He stiffened at first, but then, slowly, he leaned into me, his sobs quieting into nothing. "What's your name?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. The boy's breath hitched, and after a long pause, he spoke in a trembling, barely audible voice. "Hey, Alex." I swallowed the lump in my throat, trying to keep my voice steady. "Okay, Alex. Are you here alone?" I glanced around the room, the shadows flickering like ghosts in the corners of my vision. Alex shook his head, the movement jerky and uncertain. There was A man. He gave me food. But he's gone now. I froze. A man? Could he mean the previous owner? The man who had died months ago. My pulse quickened, the air in the room seeming to grow heavier. Does the man still come? I asked, dread coiling in my chest. Another shake of the head. No. It's been a long time. I studied him more closely. His cheeks were sunken, his skin pale and drawn. He looked like he hadn't eaten in days, maybe even weeks. I felt a wave of helplessness wash over me. Come on, I whispered, standing up and offering him my hand. Let's get you something to eat. But he didn't move. The chains rattled softly as he stared up at me with wide, terrified eyes. My stomach twisted. I couldn't leave him like this. Stay here, I said quickly, rushing out of the room. I grabbed the first thing I could find in the kitchen, a bowl of porridge, and hurried back, half expecting the door to vanish or slam shut behind me. But it remained open, and Alex was still there, his gaze fixed on the doorway as if he feared something might come through at any moment. I knelt down beside him, offering the bowl. Here, eat this. His eyes flicked to the food, and for a moment, there was something almost feral in his gaze. He grabbed the bowl and devoured the porridge, heedless of my warning to eat slowly. But as he ate, his pace slowed, his frantic hunger giving way to a quiet, desperate relief. Thank you, he whispered, his voice stronger now. But there was something unsettling in the way he looked at me, like he was waiting for something more. My heart ached for him, but there was also a gnawing fear at the back of my mind. Who was this boy? How had he survived for so long, alone and chained in a house that was supposed to be abandoned? As the days passed, I tried to coax Alex out of that room. I wanted to get him help, to free him from the chains that bound him. But every time I brought it up, he recoiled, his face pale with terror. No, he would whisper, shaking his head violently. Please, don't bring anyone else. Just you. Only you. The way he said it sent chills through me, but I didn't push. Not yet. Instead, I focused on the chains. I scoured the internet, watching tutorials on lockpicking, trying to figure out how to free him. It took longer than I expected, but finally, one night, I heard the soft click of the shackles coming loose. Got it, I whispered, slipping the iron cuffs from his wrists. I smiled, expecting relief or gratitude, but Alex's face remained expressionless. Let's go outside, I said, reaching for his hand. You're free now. But he didn't move. His eyes flicked toward the dark threshold of the door, his body tensing. Not yet, he muttered. The way he said it, so cold and flat, sent a ripple of unease through me. But I didn't argue. I told myself he just needed time. Weeks passed, and Alex never left the room. He seemed content to stay in the shadows, his wide, haunted eyes following me everywhere. I tried to bring him toys, books, anything to make him feel safe. But nothing worked. And then, one day, I had an idea. My best friend, Layla, had always been great with kids. Maybe she could help me get through to him. When she arrived, she was full of energy, ready to meet this mysterious boy I had been talking about. I'm sure he'll like you, I said as I led her down the corridor. But when I opened the door, Alex wasn't sitting on the bed as usual. He was lying there, his body motionless. "Alex?" I whispered, a knot forming in my stomach. Layla gasped, her face draining of color. "Sarah, he's dead." "What?" I stumbled back, shaking my head. No, he's not. He just needs help." I reached for him, but Layla grabbed my arm, pulling me away. "Sarah," she whispered, her voice trembling. "That boy, he's been dead for years." The house stood empty after that, a hollow shell, the door sealed once more. They found me cradling a corpse, but in my heart, Alex was still alive, waiting behind that door, forever and ever.